On May 6, 2011, at 9:17 a.m., 22-year-old Erin Caldwell stepped out of a classroom building at a community college in Fort Collins, Colorado. She never made it to her next class. She never clocked in for her fast food shift that afternoon. Her debit card went silent. Her phone stopped pinging on a quiet stretch of road just outside the city. Police first called it a possible runaway. Her family called that idea impossible. 10 years later, a set of bones in the foothills would force everyone to reopen her file. What really happened to Erin that morning? One small detail never reached the official record. Fort Collins sits along the northern edge of Colorado's Front Range, a college town that sells itself on safety and routine. In 2011, violent crime numbers were low. People left their doors unlocked. Parents let adult children drive across town at all hours. For Erin, life looked ordinary from the outside. She worked, studied part-time, and still lived with her mother and stepfather on the east side of the city. On paper, nothing about her background suggested she would simply walk away. Her friends remember her schedule down to the hour. Morning classes 3 days a week. Back-to-back shifts at a burger place near the interstate. Late-night calls that ran until her phone battery died. She was the person who answered every text, even if it was just a quick "got it." So when her messages stopped on May 6th, people noticed fast. By early evening, her mother had called every friend she knew. By 7:30 p.m., she was at the police station, asking officers to take a report. Patrol units were told to keep an eye out for Erin's compact silver sedan. The first search lines formed that same weekend. Neighbors drove the routes Erin used every day. Officers checked traffic and security cameras across town and along the highway. No sign of her car. No confirmed sighting. By the end of the month, the flyers had started to curl on light poles, and tips were already slowing down. Inside the station, her file shifted from missing adult towards something colder and less hopeful. It would take another missing young woman, years later and only a few miles away, to pull Erin's name back into the headlines. By 2011, Erin Caldwell's life looked crowded but stable. She was 22, working almost full-time at a burger place off Interstate 25, and taking 3 classes a week at Front Range Community College. She shared a split-level house on the east side of Fort Collins with her mother, Denise, and her stepfather, Rick. Her younger brother had moved out of state the year before, so Erin was the one who still came home most nights, even if it was late. Her room was small but packed. Closet full of cheap work uniforms, a stack of community college textbooks, and 3 old prepaid phones she refused to throw away. Her current phone, a black Android with a cracked corner, almost never left her hand. Friends said if you texted Erin, you got an answer. If she missed a call, you got a call back. She lived in group chats, shared everything from shift schedules to class gossip. She also used Facebook heavily back then, posting photos from shows in downtown Fort Collins and late night drives up into the foothills. Erin's social circle overlapped in one place. A man named Jason Holt, 24, played in a local metal band and worked part-time at a tattoo shop. He and Erin had dated for about 10 months before she ended the relationship in March 2011. Jason was older, had a car, and seemed exciting at first. But according to Erin's friends, the dynamic shifted fast. He did not like her going out without him. He called repeatedly during her shifts. He showed up unannounced at her work more than once. Denise later told detectives about one night in February. Erin came home shaken and said Jason had grabbed her arm during an argument in a parking lot. There was a red mark near her elbow. Erin brushed it off and said she would handle it, but her mother suggested filing a report. Erin never followed through. A month later, she told Jason it was over. The breakup did not stop the calls or messages. In the weeks before she vanished, her friends saw his name on her screen constantly. If you follow cases like this and want to see how this one unfolds, stay with us. Because Jason Holt would not disappear from Erin's story when she tried to move on from him. In the weeks after the breakup in March 2011, Erin tried to build distance. She blocked Jason Holt on Facebook twice. She deleted his number from her phone more than once. Each time, a new profile or an unknown number showed up. Friends later told detectives that Erin joked about it at first, calling Jason annoying and clingy, but the tone changed in April. She stopped laughing when his name appeared on her screen. On April 8, 2011, at 10:42 p.m., Erin sent a group text to 2 close friends. She wrote that Jason had been waiting in the parking lot when she finished her shift. She said he then followed her car for several miles. 10 minutes later, she sent a photo of her dashboard clock with the caption, "He's still behind me." That image would later be pulled from her phone records and printed into the case file. 4 days later, on April 12th, Erin missed her morning class for the first time that semester. She told her mother she had barely slept because Jason kept calling until 3 in the morning. Phone records would later confirm more than 20 missed calls from his number that night. On April 18th, she posted a short status update that caught her friend's attention. She wrote that she was done letting one person control everything, and that she needed to find who I was before all this. On April 21st, Erin finally walked into the Fort Collins Police Department and spoke with an officer for nearly 40 minutes. The officer's notes show that she reported unwanted calls and being followed in her car. She also described an incident where Jason had grabbed her wrist hard enough to leave a mark. She declined photographs and said she was not sure about a restraining order. The officer documented the complaint and told her to call 911 if he showed up at her home or work again. In the last week of April, Erin began turning her phone off at night. Her mother noticed and asked why. Erin only said, "If I ignore him long enough, he'll stop." She did not file any more reports, did not change her routine, and still went to class and work. What she did not know was that he was already planning to see her in person again. The date he chose was May 6th, 2011. Friday, May 6th, 2011, started like any other day for Erin Caldwell. At 7:15 a.m., she left the house in her silver 2004 Honda Civic, heading toward Front Range Community College. Denise heard the front door close and the engine start. Phone records show a brief call to a classmate at 7:32 a.m., lasting 43 seconds. Erin told her she was running a few minutes late, but was on her way. Security video from the parking lot shows Erin's car pulling in at 7:49 a.m. She walks alone toward the main building, carrying a black backpack and a coffee in her hand. She attends her first class without incident. Several students later confirmed her presence and said she seemed tired but normal. At 9:10 a.m., that class ends. She has a break before another class at 10 a.m. At 9:17 a.m., a hallway camera captures Erin exiting the building through a side door that leads toward the student lot. This is the last confirmed image of her alive. She is not seen re-entering the building. Her car is not seen leaving on any of the campus cameras that face the main exits. Detectives later noted there was a gap in coverage at a rear driveway that connects to a service road. At 9:19 a.m., Erin's phone makes an outgoing call to Jason Holt. The call lasts 21 seconds. Jason later told detectives he missed the call and saw it only hours later. Phone records contradict that statement. They show that his own phone connected to the call and then immediately dialed her back at 9:20 a.m. That return call lasted 54 seconds. No one knows what was said. What is clear is that Erin never showed up for her 10 a.m. class. She did not message any friends about skipping. By 2 p.m., her manager at the burger place expected her for a shift. She never arrived, never called, and did not answer her phone. By 5 p.m., Denise had called every number in Erin's contact list she recognized. When officers first spoke with the family that evening, they raised the possibility that Erin had taken a break from everything. Denise responded with a single sentence that made it into the report. If Erin walked away, why did her car vanish too? The first real cracks in the "she'll turn up" theory came within 24 hours. On May 7, 2011, Fort Collins officers did a quick welfare check at the Caldwell home. Denise led them straight to Erin's bedroom. Nothing there looked like someone preparing to leave. Her suitcase was in the closet, zipped and dusty. Her work visor and name tag were laid out on the desk for her next shift. On the nightstand sat her wallet with $43 in cash and her state ID. Her bank records showed no withdrawals after May 5th. Her last debit transaction was a small gas purchase at 9:03 p.m. that night at a station 2 miles from home. There were no bus tickets, no hotel charges, no rideshare history. Erin's paycheck from the burger place, issued May 4th, had not been picked up. Detectives requested her phone records on rush order. The tower data showed Erin's phone connecting to the campus area at 7:40 a.m. and again just after 9 a.m. At 9:19 a.m., the phone pinged a tower near the college when she called Jason Holt. The 9:20 a.m. return call came from a tower that covered an industrial strip just south of campus, not Jason's apartment on the west side of town. At 9:28 a.m., Erin's phone sent a final, brief signal near a stretch of county road that cut through open fields. Then it went dark. It was not powered down slowly. It dropped off the network completely. Campus security pulled additional video the next week. One camera in the far lot, aimed at a service road exit, had been out of order that morning. Maintenance logs showed it stopped recording at 6:02 a.m. and did not come back online until afternoon. In the frame before it froze, Erin's Honda sat alone near the back row. A dark pickup was parked 2 spaces away with no visible front plate. Detectives also noticed something odd in Jason's phone records. Between noon and 2 p.m. on May 6th, the day Erin vanished, there was a gap where all outgoing texts had been deleted from his device, but still existed on the carrier log. One of those missing texts mentioned being near campus earlier. The question inside the squad room shifted from "Did she leave?" to "Who helped make her disappear?" 3 days after Erin vanished, investigators finally got something they could touch. On May 9th, 2011, a Larimer County deputy running plates in a small park-and-ride lot off County Road 11C noticed a silver Honda Civic backed into a corner space. The registration came back to Denise Caldwell. The officer called it in. Within an hour, crime scene tape went up around a single parking stall in a mostly empty lot. The Honda was locked. There was no visible damage to the exterior, no broken glass, no flat tires. A light layer of yellow pollen dusted the hood and windshield, suggesting it had been sitting there at least overnight. Detectives photographed the vehicle from every angle before a tow truck moved it to a secure bay at the Fort Collins Police Department. Once inside, they documented the interior inch by inch. Erin's black backpack lay on the back seat, zipped, with her notebooks and a community college ID inside. Her work visor and name tag were tucked into the side pocket. On the front passenger floor, there was an empty fast food cup with a dated receipt from May 4th. In the center console, detectives found her check stub from the burger place, uncashed. The driver's seat position did not match what Denise described. Erin was 5'4". She always kept the seat closer to the wheel. In the recovered car, the seat was pushed noticeably farther back. There were faint streaks on the inside of the driver's door, as if someone had wiped it down with a damp cloth. Swabs were taken, but early lab reports came back insufficient for analysis. One detail bothered the lead detective from the start. Erin's phone was not in the car. Her house keys were not there either. A spare key, kept in a magnetic box under the rear bumper, was gone. Whoever left the Civic in that lot knew exactly how to lock it and walk away without leaving a scene that looked like a struggle. To the public, the car's discovery was presented as a hopeful sign. Inside the squad room, it looked more like proof that someone else was now driving Erin's story. When Erin's car was found, detectives turned their attention hard toward the people closest to her. High on that list was Jason Holt. On May 10th, 2011, he came into the Fort Collins Police Department for a voluntary interview. He arrived alone, wearing a band t-shirt and a hoodie, and signed the consent form to speak without a lawyer present. The interview was recorded. Jason said he had not seen Erin in weeks. He claimed the missed call at 9:19 a.m. on May 6th went unanswered while he was sleeping in. He said he noticed it later and called her back, but it went straight to voicemail. Phone records already showed that was not true. His call at 9:20 a.m. had connected for 54 seconds. When detectives pressed him on that, he said he must have misremembered and that the call couldn't have been important. He also downplayed the breakup and the report Erin had made in April. He described her as dramatic and said she liked attention. When asked directly if he had ever grabbed or followed her, he hesitated, then admitted he had shown up places when they were fighting but denied hurting her. He denied having a key to her car, denied knowing where she parked on campus, and denied being near County Road 11C. Outside the station, other voices began to tell a different story. One of Erin's co-workers came forward with a specific memory from 2 weeks before she disappeared. She told detectives that Jason had waited for Erin in the parking lot after a late shift and that she overheard him say, "If you cut me off, you'll regret it." A neighbor from Erin Street reported seeing a dark pickup near the Caldwell driveway early in the mornings the week she vanished. The neighbor later picked Jason's truck out of a photo lineup. The most serious statement, though, came months later from someone inside Jason's own circle. In early 2012, an ex-girlfriend of Jason's contacted police and said he had made disturbing comments about Erin one night while drunk. According to her, Jason said he had made sure she couldn't call anyone again and that nobody would find her where she was now. She agreed to give a sworn statement and later wore a recording device during several meetings with him. On those recordings, Jason never gave a clean confession, but he circled the subject in a way that made investigators believe they were no longer dealing with just a missing person. From the outside, the case against Jason Holt looked simple. Former boyfriend, documented harassment, last known phone contact. But inside the file, almost every clear point came with a built-in problem. Investigators could not place him on campus at 9:17 a.m. on May 6, 2011. There was no traffic camera catching his truck near the college, no gas receipt along the route, no witness who saw him and Erin together that morning. Cell tower data put his phone near the industrial strip south of campus, but that zone covered dozens of streets and parking lots. Jason's official alibi also complicated things. He said he spent most of the day at his grandfather's small house on the west side of Fort Collins, helping with yard work and repairs. The grandfather confirmed that Jason had been there late morning into the afternoon, though he could not give exact times. A neighbor remembered seeing Jason's truck parked outside sometime after lunch. That still left a window in the mid-morning hours wide open, but it was not the airtight contradiction detectives wanted. The abandoned Honda raised its own questions. The park-and-ride lot was close to the county road where Erin's phone last pinged, but not right on it. There were no surveillance cameras in that lot. Tire impressions were too faint and contaminated by later traffic. The idea that Erin had driven there herself did not match the seat position or the missing keys. The alternative was worse. Someone else had managed to move her car without drawing any attention. As tips came in, other theories appeared. A few callers mentioned a man who had been approaching women in parking lots around the college earlier that spring. Another tip referenced a dark pickup seen near several apartment complexes. Each lead had to be checked, and each one that went nowhere made the case feel less focused. Detectives documented them, but their notes kept circling back to one name and one period of missing time. By the end of that first year, the working theory inside the department was blunt. Erin had not chosen to vanish, and whoever staged that car knew her habits well enough to make it look like she might have. For several years, the investigation into Erin Caldwell's disappearance moved in waves. Each anniversary brought new coverage, new tips, and new frustration. Volunteer search teams walked fields near County Road 11C, drainage ditches, and creek beds along the northern edge of Fort Collins. Cadaver dogs were brought in more than once. Nothing linked directly to Erin was ever found. Her case file thickened with reports, but there was still no scene, no remains, and no charge. Jason Holt did not disappear from law enforcement's radar during those years. Between 2013 and 2018, he was arrested several times on unrelated offenses. Disorderly conduct after a bar fight in downtown Fort Collins. A misdemeanor domestic assault involving a different girlfriend, later pled down. Possession of a controlled substance during a traffic stop on Highway 287. Each case generated fresh reports and fresh interviews. In more than one of those reports, witnesses told officers that Jason could not stop talking about a girl who went missing. In early 2020, another name would enter the picture. 24-year-old Megan Ruiz disappeared after leaving a house party in Loveland, about 12 miles south of Fort Collins. She was last seen on February 15, 2020, getting into a dark pickup with a man some guests knew only as Jay. 2 days later, her car was found abandoned and partially burned on a remote service road near the foothills. The pattern felt familiar. Young woman, Northern Colorado. A vehicle left behind in a place that made no sense to her family. When Loveland police interviewed Megan's friends, Jason Holt's name came up quickly. He had grown up with one of the guests and had shown up at the party uninvited. He was later arrested in connection with the burning of Megan's car, but was not charged with harming her. Like Erin, Megan was officially listed as missing, endangered. Her case remained open, but the search areas were wide and rough. On April 3, 2021, a man out collecting shed antlers in a wooded section of Roosevelt National Forest, southwest of Fort Collins, spotted a human skull on a steep slope. Deputies responded, secured the area, and requested a full search. The next day, about 30 yards away, searchers found additional bones that clearly belonged to a second person. No one yet knew that both families had just been pulled back into the same story. The first set of remains from Roosevelt National Forest was identified within a week. Dental records and DNA confirmed they belonged to Megan Ruiz. The second set took longer. The bones were more weathered, and several key teeth were missing. On June 14, 2021, the Larimer County Coroner's Office notified Fort Collins detectives that mitochondrial DNA from the second set matched a sample previously collected from Denise Caldwell. 10 years after she walked out of a college building, Erin had been found. Both sets of remains were located off a narrow game trail, down a steep slope, in an area not visible from the main path. There were no clothes intact enough to trace, no obvious personal items that could be tied to either woman. The medical examiner could not determine an exact cause of death for Erin or Megan due to the condition of the remains. However, both were ruled homicides based on the circumstances and the manner in which the bodies had been left. Once the identification came in, investigators reassembled everything they had on Jason Holt. They mapped his contacts with Erin, the harassment report in April 2011, the May 6th phone calls, the abandoned Civic, and the later arrests. They added his connection to Megan, the burned car in 2020, and the statements from friends and former partners. One new piece shifted the weight. A former cellmate from a 2019 drug case came forward and told detectives that Jason had talked about 2 girls who never made it home and bragged that the hills keep secrets. The recordings from Jason's ex-girlfriend were also reviewed again. In one conversation, he said, "If they ever find that place, I'm done," then quickly changed the subject when she asked what he meant. Investigators compared his known hangout spots and family cabins with the location of the remains. One of his relatives owned undeveloped land less than 4 miles from the recovery site. On August 3, 2021, a Larimer County grand jury indicted Jason Holt on 2 counts of second-degree murder and 2 counts of tampering with a deceased human body. He was arrested without incident and held without bond. Prosecutors knew they were walking into court with no cause of death, no murder weapon, and a defendant who insisted that someone else had used his past against him. Jason Holt's trial began in Larimer County District Court in October 2022. The prosecution tried both cases together. 2 women, 2 disappearances, 1 recovery site in the same remote section of Roosevelt National Forest. They laid the timeline out hour by hour, starting with May 6, 2011, when Erin walked out of her college building, and running through February 15, 2020, when Megan left that house party in Loveland. Prosecutors stressed what they did have, not what they lacked. They had Erin's harassment report from April 2011. They had the 9:19 and 9:20 a.m. calls on the morning she vanished, showing direct contact with Jason near campus. They had the abandoned Civic, locked and staged in a park-and-ride lot, with the seat pushed back. They had Jason's own words, captured on recorded conversations and reported by a former cellmate and ex-girlfriends, about women who never made it home, and a place that could not be found. For Megan, they had witnesses from the party who watched her leave with a man they identified as Jason. They had his involvement in burning her car on a service road near the foothills. They had the shared dump area in the forest and his family's land nearby. They argued that his pattern was clear. When relationships turned against him, women disappeared, cars were moved, and silence followed. The defense responded by attacking the gaps. There was no video of Jason with Erin on campus. No neighbor saw him move the Civic. No cause of death for either woman. They suggested that someone else could have used his name, his truck, even his past, to deflect suspicion. They pointed to the rough terrain and said anyone who hunted, hiked, or camped there could have known those hills. Jason took the stand and blamed a former friend with a criminal record, saying this man had set him up and liked to talk big about crimes. After 2 days of deliberation, the jury returned a split result. Jason was found guilty of second-degree murder in Megan's case and guilty of voluntary manslaughter in Erin's. The judge followed the jury's recommendation and imposed consecutive sentences, totaling decades in prison. But one detail about the verdict still raises hard questions about what the law could not fully name. After the verdict, the courtroom emptied, but the work of living with what happened did not end for either family. The sentences meant Jason Holt would likely spend the rest of his adult life in prison, yet no one could point to a single piece of evidence that explained exactly how either woman died. There was no official narrative about the final minutes in the parking lot at Front Range Community College or on that winter night in Loveland. The law had drawn its line, but the story remained full of blank spaces. Denise Caldwell spoke briefly outside the courthouse. She said she was grateful to have Erin home and to have a name on the conviction, but she could not say she felt justice had been done. For 10 years, she woke up not knowing whether her daughter was alive or dead. Now she knew, but she also knew there was no chance to ask Erin what happened, no way to hear her side of that last phone call. She started attending local meetings about protective order laws and early intervention in harassment cases, pushing for faster responses when young women report stalking. Megan's parents focused on the pattern they believed the system had missed. They saw a man with a documented history of controlling behavior, escalating conduct, and multiple chances at probation. They asked, in interviews and at community forums, why someone with that record was still moving freely between cities, meeting new partners, and showing up at parties where no one knew his past. Their questions echoed debates in Colorado about risk assessment, pretrial release, and how to read warning signs before a person disappears. In Fort Collins and Loveland, the two cases became a reference point. Parents used Erin's story when talking to their adult children about documenting threats and saving messages. Advocates used Megan's name when arguing for better tracking of repeat offenders across county lines. Detectives who had worked both files said the forest recovery site proved something they had suspected for years. Neither woman had ever been a runaway. As of today, Jason's appeals have been denied, and the convictions still stand. But one detail of the case keeps drawing people back to Erin's last recorded move at 9:17 a.m., when she chose a side door and vanished from camera view.